Good evening and welcome to the first FingerLakes1.com debate special of the 2016 election season. Tonight we welcome two of the candidates running for Seneca Falls Town Council to the studio. Originally, all four candidates were slated to be here. However, we received notification yesterday that two of the candidates would not be participating in tonight's debate. Instead, voters will hear from just two of the candidates involved in the race. I'd like to now welcome Annette Lutz and Mary Saratori to the studio. Both are Democrats seeking opposing seats on Seneca Falls Town Council. Ladies, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
So we'll skip the traditional format of timing you guys on questions since your opponents aren't going to be here. First, before we get into any of the questions, let me just give you both an opportunity to tell us all a little bit about yourselves. Annette, let's start with you.
Okay. I was born and raised in Auburn and joined the United States Air Force right out of high school and proudly served for 10 years. Came back to this area and moved to Seneca Falls in 1996. My husband Bill and I have been married for a long time. We have 4 children and a doggie. I work at Waterloo Container and just love this town and happy to be a part of it.
Mary?
I also am not from here. I grew up in Hull, New York, then moved here when I met my husband and also when I went to the chiropractic college. I fell in love with Seneca Falls. I think its history, the strong work ethic of the people that live here, and just the beauty of it really made me inspired. It made us want to raise our family here and put down our roots in Seneca Falls. And so now it's my husband Steve and our 5-year-old Grayson. I currently have my own acupuncture business, and I also work for the Clifton Springs Hospital in Clifton Springs.
So for the both of you, obviously everyone has their own motivation for running for office. What is your motivation individually, Mary? Let's start with you this time.
My motivation is that I want to look forward to the future of Seneca Falls. I know, and hopefully, I'll still be here in 40 years. I think it's important having a small son. I want him to want to come back to Seneca Falls. I want him to be inspired like I was. I want him to put his roots down here. But I'm also inspired to get younger people involved in our town. Being a 36-year-old, I feel like it's important to have a demographic such as myself, a woman under the age of 40, involved in making some of the decisions that are affecting this large demographic that is largely underrepresented in a lot of the politics in Seneca Falls, both on the town board, the planning boards, the zoning boards. And I think it's important to have that voice in our town.
And Annette, for you?
My motivation
Yes.
for seeking the town board? Well, I too love being here in Seneca Falls. Our children are teenagers, grown up, and the sad fact for us is they moved away. So my motivation for running is to make Seneca Falls a place where our children want to grow up here, and when they grow up and go to college, they want to return here and they want to bring their families here. And so my motivation would be just to get people to stay here and to come back here and to have this town flourish.
So also within your background, varying degrees of business experience, etc., what qualifications do each of you bring to the table that make you fit to hold office? Annette, we can start with you this time.
Okay. I feel my 10 years in the military really shaped who I am today. A lot of discipline, a lot of respecting other people's opinions and learning how to get along with all types of people, just learning to get along with everybody and knowing that together you can work and do something great. Mm-hmm. So the service was very good for me. Like I said, it molded me. When I got out of the service, I was a single parent for a while. So I do understand the hardships of getting by scraping by, just making enough money to pay your bills and stuff. I understand that aspect too. And since I married my husband, he owns Waterloo Container, and in 2004 I began working there for him. And I have done the human resource part of that. I have done a lot of the different aspects of that and understand how to run a business. And I truly feel that even though it's not a popular belief, I believe that governments and cities and towns can be run like a business and run effectively. So I'm hoping to bring some of that business sense to the town and maybe work some ideas in there that maybe that prior boards haven't thought about.
I feel like I'm a good marketer. I'm a sole provider. I need to make a living based on putting myself out there and marketing myself. I think that it's important when you have a town to market that town. I think Seneca Falls needs to be marketed. We want to be open for business. We want new businesses to come in here. When I first wanted to be appointed to the board, the economy and the economic development of Seneca Falls was utmost of importance to me. And so I feel that as a person that needs to market all the time, that I think we can do that with Seneca Falls. We have a great marketing, the Seneca Falls Development Committee now, and they're doing a great job, and I think that's inspiring because I think that we're seeing a lot of things in the future that could be coming here. I think that having somebody on the board that kind of understands that marketing and understands that you're not just looking at the 1 year plan for a business that might want to be coming in here, but looking at how that business may be growing in 5 years or 10 years and 30 or 40 years, and how they're going to contribute to our town, not just tomorrow, not just next year, but in 30 to 40 years. Right. I think that's really important. And when I plan my business, I'm always looking at, where am I going to be in 30 years? Where am I going to be in 40 years? Where's my family going to be in 30 or 40 years? We're going to be in Seneca Falls. But most importantly, it's how can we look at the future and then plan for that? And I think that my education, along with my business, helps me to be able to do that.
So one of those future-looking items that a lot of people are concerned about, property taxes, huge concern for taxpayers. What can the both of you do, each of you individually, to ensure that taxes are kept low or kept as low as possible moving forward over the next several years if you are elected? Annette, we can start with you this time.
Well, I believe that it is inevitable that taxes have to increase. Mm-hmm. It's just a way of life for everybody. However, the way to do that is to not do it all at once, to do it slowly. And there are ways we need to, I guess it all comes back down to getting businesses in here and getting more revenue in here so that it supports the town and taxes do not have to rise at an increasingly alarming rate.
Right.
They're going to rise inevitably, but
totally fair enough.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that she's correct in the fact that you would be doing a disservice to the people of your town if you would tell them that no matter what happens, taxes will not raise. Mm-hmm. Because it is a fact that taxes will inevitably raise. And in Seneca Falls, our taxes currently are relatively low as comparative to other communities that we have around here. The town of Seneca Falls pays $3.73 per the $1,000 of assessed value of their house. Waterloo, if you take the village and the town, because those give us those same services, they're at about $22.93, and Fayette and Waterloo would be $23.03. Mm-hmm. Now, even if we doubled the taxes of our current state, we're looking at about $746 for the $100,000 assessed house. So what that means is it's about $2 a day, and that's if we do it tomorrow. If we decide that we are going to just stop or doubling our taxes, that's where we're looking at. And I think what we really need to do is look out to a 5 to 10 year plan, probably more in the 5-year plan to 7. And start slowly increasing our revenue. One of those ways is economic development. So the more businesses that we have coming in, then we have more that we're going to be putting on the tax roll. One of the other things is to cut some of our spending. We're doing budgeting right now, and it's really interesting. I wish that we had more people in town showing up. We haven't had hardly anybody there, but there's some ways that we can make some cuts from our budget without really affecting the services of our town. And then if we can do that and slowly increase our taxes along with decreasing our budget, I think that we can do it. And I'm a stickler. I mean, I have 3 jobs currently. My husband works. We have a 5-year-old. I understand what it's like, and I would never want to just wham somebody with a huge increase. And so slowly increasing our revenue and increasing taxes slightly, but then also decreasing our spending. I think that we can actually really do that comfortably without hurting anyone's pockets significantly.
Right. So economic development is something you guys have mentioned a couple times already. With regards to an economic development plan, what specifically would you guys like to see executed over the next few years to sort of make it more feasible for Seneca Falls to be a viable place to do business? Mary, we can start with you this time.
Cool. Well, currently we're working on revamping the 2007 Economic Comprehensive Plan. It was a great plan in 2007. We didn't really do that much with it, though. And I think that we're starting to look at that now. We're looking at, and I think that kind of lends itself to be a strategic plan to be able to market and increase the economy in Seneca Falls. So I'd work with that first. And then we can look at becoming more streamlining for businesses. I think the best asset that Seneca Falls has is to welcome people who want to be a part of our community. If they would like to open up a new business, we should be able to make it easy for them to be able to go through zoning and through the planning board and through the historic district if it is in fact needed. I think that the Economic Development Committee has really started to take the reins on that and are doing a great job at kind of reaching out to those business owners to be able to start that process. But I think streamlining is very important. And then working within a set plan, which is the comprehensive plan. Hopefully that'll be the 2017 Economic Comprehensive Plan of Seneca Falls.
Annette?
Can you repeat the question?
As far as what specifically within an economic development plan would you like to see executed? And even you as a business owner, or working within a business, what sort of things would you like to see applied over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years to make more businesses say, hey, Seneca Falls, that's a place I want to be?
Okay, so Mary did mention the 2007 comprehensive plan that the board did all get a copy of and looked at, and it's a great plan, but it hasn't been implemented. So that would be a good start. Also, I believe that in order to draw businesses here, you do have to offer some very good incentives. I think right now Seneca Falls is not very welcoming to businesses to move in. We make it very difficult, and like it was said, you have to go to almost hoops to get through the IDA and different things. Right. So you have to make this a more welcoming community. Ways to do that, maybe there are so many empty spaces downtown and businesses downtown. Well, let's offer incentives, like if you bring your business downtown, you can get a reduced rate for X amount of months or maybe a year, and in turn, you have to keep your business here for maybe double that amount, or come up with a program like that. So you're getting people to come in here at a lower rate, and then they get settled and they can afford the rent, and they can gradually have their rent increased, and they stay here. I believe you do have to be very welcoming. I also think that we need to get, as Mary said, marketing, but if we need to be on websites, we need to promote Seneca Falls. There's so much stuff here, but yet if you really try to look and see how can you come in and do this, there's really not too much out there. So it would be great to have some kind of program online that people could go in and realize to bring your business in here, and the steps we could take to do that.
Right. Okay, so another one of the financial stability concerns revolves around Del Lago. How does, and this is actually a reader-submitted question, how does Seneca Falls become financially independent from Seneca Meadows without becoming financially dependent on the soon-to-be-completed Del Lago Resort and Casino? Mary, we can start with you on this one.
Well, I think it's important to know that Seneca or Del Lago, one, isn't going to be within our town limits like Seneca Meadows is. But two, they're offering a tourist attraction that's going to be bringing people here. So I don't see Del Lago as the save-all, as giving us money independently or dependent upon being here. Mm-hmm. But what I do see as the positive of Del Lago is that the people that go there are going to need places to stay, where I'm hoping they can stay in Seneca Falls. I would love to see maybe some hotels in downtown a little bit more so that people can get that tourist here and spend money here in downtown. That's going to help open up some of those shops that are currently not being rented in downtown, because it's more so it's here, but it's going to be kind of the anchor that can support some of these new businesses that might want to develop around it. It's not just feeding our town money. I think that our town needs to be dependent upon Seneca Falls eventually, and that should be our primary goal, is not have to be dependent on ourselves and just one or even two businesses, but making sure that we have a multitude of streams of revenue that are coming into this town. We have some great businesses now already downtown. Mm-hmm. We just need to really support them and promote them as well.
And any different ideas, or do you feel like that pretty much falls in line?
No, I feel that is the way to do it. And as a watching my husband run his business and being a big part of that, one thing that we have come to find out is you cannot put all your baskets in one customer. Just like the town cannot put all their hopes in one business. So whether it's the landfill or the casino, you cannot do that. How I do think the casino there will be other businesses that sprout from there. Mm-hmm. And also there's a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe can come in and say, okay, now all these people that are visiting the casino, I'm going to set up a tour for them, so that when they're here, I'm going to operate a tour business. I understand there's some there, but already in this area. But also maybe somebody wants to do a fishing tour. Right. So we can take the people who are visiting here, and you can branch off, and more businesses can form, and then the town has a bigger pool of businesses to rely on instead of just one or two major ones.
So both of you touched on something there that I'd like to address a little more specifically. If you could pick one item, one way to build and develop that downtown corridor that both of you are talking about developing, what would that item be, or what would that thing be? A couple incentives have been mentioned, but any one specific key item?
For an incentive, or what we would like to see there?
What will spur it? What will make that downtown corridor develop?
I think it's having businesses around there. I think that having one that's down there, I'm going to mention 5-Star Medical, because that's a pretty big one that we keep forgetting about, this town that just started, and it's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be in the old police station, and it's a medical supply company, which doesn't seem very exciting and flashy by any means. However, it actually is. If you're in the medical business, you're going to know that that is something that's going to be here for long term. It may start out with just 5 people working there, but it has the potential to grow to 50 to 60 people relatively quickly. Now, when you have a big business like that in town, much like Gould's used to be, it does spur off a bunch of people who then want to, like you said, develop into our town. If we have people that are in the medical supply, they tend to want to spend money on food and drinks and things like that. And that's a way that we can really get downtown coming in a little bit better. I'd love to see us work with some of the surrounding wineries and breweries. Governor Cuomo just announced, I think it was $55 million initiative to market the tourism industry in New York. I think that we should be grabbing onto that, as we have in Seneca Falls not only the history, which is a tourist destination, we have the wineries all around us, we have the craft breweries, we have the new niche of custom, of local drinks too, that I think that if we could get maybe a large brewery downtown or a small pub, I think that would be great. It's kind of a niche, because I think that a lot of the businesses that are down there now each have their own specific draw or appeal to different people.
Annette, anything different, anything you'd like to add to that?
I really think in order to get downtown spurred and flourishing, we need to start having some more community events there. The Canal Fest was great. The It's a Wonderful Life, that is great. It draws so many people, and I feel that the way to get businesses downtown is to actually host events. Geneva has
Linden Street.
Yep, Linden Street, that they close off, and they have wineries out there, and they have restaurants out there, and it is very successful. I've been there a few times this past summer. So I feel if the town got together and did community events like that would draw people in, and then give people the opportunity to see what we're all about, and maybe that would spur people to want to come here and open up a business.
Now,
Local stuff.
one of the a story we published earlier this year looked at the top earners in the region against the wages of the other 99%. The average income locally among that 99% was identified as roughly $30,000 a year. Taking that piece of information into consideration, it's a state issue, it's a regional issue, it's a national issue. But what can the both of you do as local representatives to help either close that gap or encourage the right kind of business growth that actually pushes wages up? We can start with you, Mary.
I think having competitive businesses around here. So I think, I'm not going to go back to 5-Star again, but it's a company that is up and coming in the global world. Medical supply is pretty huge right now. And so having a business that's going to come in and offer high-paying wages is going to automatically, hopefully, bring in other businesses that want to compete with those same type of professionals. We have young professionals right now that are coming out of college that are very, very highly skilled but low paid. And so, and I understand that with the amount of student loans that I have currently. But I think that what we can do then is to drive up that pay, is to have newer businesses coming in here that have a longevity of a future, like a medical supply or any kind of science-based industry, and to be able to competitively push those wages up there and work with businesses to do that.
Yeah, and I also believe that we do have to be looking into the future. So what jobs will we be needing in 2 or 3 years? And I think that there are a lot of tech jobs out there that we need to bring in here. There are a lot of little startup things, and as Mary said, the medical and field is very big and very competitive. businesses that cater to the older folks, the older community. That is starting to be a very competitive field. So to get some businesses like that in here too, and offer higher salaries would work. It is a very difficult thing to do because there are so many minimum wage jobs out there that to try to bring companies in here with higher paying jobs, you really have to offer a lot of incentives.
Mm-hmm. Now, to that end, you've both talked about young people, minimum wage jobs. Getting back to the young people portion a little bit, how do you both talked about keeping young people here? If you could both elaborate on that a little more, what can be done to keep young people in Seneca Falls, Seneca County, the region as a whole, instead of sending them off to college and they never come back unless it's Christmas time?
I think getting high schoolers more involved now in their community is a good way to do that. So if we can maybe work with some of the local businesses to get some of these high school students to come in and really not just shadow like for a day or two, but actually to be involved and look at the operations that are happening. I think if you're leaving, but you have a goal and you have an idea of what you want to do, and it's something that's here and you've already learned that in high school, it's going to make you go out, learn, become very educated, and then bring what you learned back to the town that you've already been invested in because you started out younger looking at it.
Annette?
Well, I have a little bit of a different view for that because we do have 4 older children, and their reasons for not wanting to come back here are, number one, there's no opportunities. There's nothing to do here. I do think that the town, we had a bowling alley, we lost that. We did have a movie theater, we lost that years ago. So I do think that we do have a wonderful rec center that keeps the kids busy, and the schools do have a lot of sports and music programs that also can keep them busy. But there's nothing really here that makes them want to stay. So I believe that we need to find, we do need to interact with the teenagers, with the young kids, and ask them, what do we need here to keep you here and to make you stay? And then really take all their answers and try to develop something that they want to come back to. I think that's the big problem. There's nothing here for them.
Now, does that also mean working more with area colleges?
Sure.
That's a question.
That could be a great way to start. I mean, I think it's very hard when you grow up here and you see what we have, and then you see what there is in the bigger cities, or you see what there is just down the road in Geneva, or just over in Auburn. And there's, of course, they're bigger cities, so they do offer more, but I think we maybe drawing in the colleges, and that's another way of marketing our town and get it out there and tell people that there are opportunities here.
Now, switching gears to budgets, it's budget season. Budget workshops, 2 of them were held last week. One remains, that'll be taking place tomorrow, open to the public. How does Seneca Falls save money and programs under each of your guidance on the board?
I think it's important not to just look at one single way to cut. I think that when we start hearing of how we lower the budget, so often it's, we'll just cut this whole entire program, and we'll cut this whole entire department. I think what we really need to do is look at ways to cut across the board, to make drastic changes across the board. That may mean that we don't always get what we want, but to make sure that we always are having what we need. I also think it's important to really do local. I think that having local businesses who are then, or people that work for us that are local, and this is with some of our contracted out help as well. Right now we have a contracting firm for that is doing our grant writing, and we have a contracting firm that is our engineers. although they are doing a wonderful job, they're not invested in our community as much as I think someone who lived here would be. I personally think that if we could invest more in people, possibly having our own town engineer and cutting some of the costs that are over $400,000 on outside engineer firms, I think that's one way we can look at really not affecting our services, not affecting the people that live in our town, but drastically cutting our budget in a proper way.
Annette?
The budget meetings are very interesting. It's a very tedious task, and we go line by line, and after we're done with one specific budget, we look back and we might have saved $4,000 or $5,000, which is not a lot of money in the scope of our $19 million budget that we have. So it does help because we're slowly chipping away at things. But like Mary said, we need to hire local. The engineering firm that we have now, I think in the past 5 years, we've paid out almost $1.9 million to them. And we could hire a town engineer for, maybe $80,000 or a salary that would be well underneath what we're paying out, and then just go to that an outside firm when we do have a big project going on. I don't think that we need to cut all the programs that we provide and do for this town. However, I do think maybe the board can look at starting to have minimum fees for going to Vince's Park, for going to the health center at the rec center, and little things like that. It's a very interesting procedure, and I do recommend that people go and listen and see what the town board actually has to go through in the budget.
Now, to that, voters are going to hear this and they're going to wonder, if pressed on the issue, what services, what items, what things would be cut if services were forced to be cut at some point down the road. Mary, we can start with you.
Thanks. I have a hard time cutting things if we don't know we need to. So it's hard to press me because, one, I feel that the community center, I'm just going to put the two that have been put out there multiple times. The community center gives back to the people who need it the most, which is our community. They are the kids, they are our future, and I don't think that we should ever cut from people that need it the most. The police force has been put out there multiple times as well. And I feel that although on paper it sometimes looks very good, when you have an emergency and you need somebody to be right there, you're going to want someone to be right there.
Right.
And there's many people in the community, when I've been out talking to people and when we've been doing our Meet the Candidates, that said, if we didn't have these services, if we didn't have the police, we didn't have the fire, if we didn't have the things that are right there for us, where would we be? One woman said that she doesn't even know if her husband would be here if those people hadn't got to her as quick as they did. So hard pressed, I would have a hard time saying if I didn't already know. I feel like if you're going to promise something, you do it. And so for me, I have a hard time saying, yep, this is what I would get rid of. Because I think if we're smart with our budget and we work slowly and we come down a little bit, that we're not going to have to do that.
Right. Annette?
And I have to say, too, I believe that it's not a matter of cutting things and getting rid of things. It's a matter of compromising and saying, what can we let go of? What do we actually need versus want? And if we give a little on one side and possibly charge a little bit on the other side, this town has a lot of services that we get for free. So there could be a compromise there, and then everybody wins, and we really don't have to cut or slash things like it's been out there in the public, this is going, this is going. It doesn't have to be that way. We just have to work responsibly and be educated about what we're doing. And like I said, do a little give and take. And I believe it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to take probably 5 or more years to get the budget under control. But if we do it at a little of a time and compromise, I believe we can do that without slashing and closing and getting rid of services.
Now, one of the qualities of holding an office like that is being able to guide a town or a municipality through challenging situations. One of those challenging situations, one of those really polarizing situations in Seneca Falls over the last 3 to 4 or 5 years has been the municipal building. If you were living in that situation at that time, or in a similar situation where you're looking at a major expense, how would you treat that situation, and how would you have handled a situation like that one? Annette, we can start with you this time.
Okay, if you want to specifically discuss the new building, I would say that if I were on the town board at that time, I would not have voted to have that done. As I said earlier in this debate that we are having, there are so many empty buildings in Seneca Falls that I believe that what we should have done is remodeled or reconditioned a building to move into. And even though there was a budget set for that town hall, I believe we've gone over it. I still believe we could have done something here. It's far away. We should have had something right here in the middle of the town that's localized. There's the big water sewer project that the engineers are presenting to us. I don't feel that we should go into that full force. That is a big dollar amount, and I believe that should also be divided into what's critical, what we need to do in the next 2 years, what needs to be done in the next 5 years, and things that are nice to do but we really don't need it. So anything big like that, I really feel should be debated and maybe possibly bring in outside help, people with financial expertise, people with planning expertise, just to discuss and try to figure out a better way to do it or a more cost-effective way to do it.
Now, one of the biggest issues in Seneca Falls right now is surrounds Seneca Meadows and local law number 7, the proposed local law number 7. Where do each of you come down on the local law, and how would you like to see the town proceed over the next 3, 6, 9 months to a year? Mary?
I think that it's very important to understand what local law 7 is, because there's a lot of misinformation out there when it is in regards to local law 7. One, local law 7 is not meant to specifically close the landfill tomorrow. It's not going to happen in 2017. We've just talked about how we're under an issue with our budget and how we need to really start to look at our finances and how we can slowly take care of that. Now, local law 7 is meant to butt up to the host agreement, and it's supposed to give more teeth to the host agreement so that we have a secure date for when the landfill closes. Secure dates, I feel, are very, very important, because what that does is it gives you a date to look forward to plan. I said earlier, when you're writing a paper at school and you don't have an actual date that it's due by, you take your time doing it because there's no rush, there's no need. We're in the point where we really need to make choices when it regards to our budget and to our taxes. To be able to do that, having a secure date will allow us to actually work within our budget, to increase our revenues, to decrease our spending, and then become a self-reliant town, which I think is what everyone's goal should be, to become a strong Seneca Falls, working together.
Annette?
So the current host agreement that we have actually does have a date in there of 2025 for a landfill closure. I believe this local law, as Mary said, it is not intended to shut the landfill down tomorrow or next year. It isn't. And anybody who believes that the town could actually do that, they're very misinformed, because we have depended for so long on that revenue, and we have not saved for the time when the landfill will close, because everyone knows landfills' lives do have an end date. Mm-hmm. So there is an end date in the host agreement, and my feeling is to stay with the current host agreement and adopt a local law that will work in conjunction with that, so that when 2025 comes around, or that their existing airspace is all used up, then we have a closure date and we have a law in place that will protect us from any other landfills trying to come into our town, or from that one trying to expand.
Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of, you spoke obviously with the realm of money, with the realm of major projects, and aging infrastructure is a key part of that entire sort of puzzle. Mm-hmm. How does Seneca Falls address that aging infrastructure without breaking the bank in the process? Mary, let's start with you on this one.
It's one of the things that we're looking at right now. Annette had mentioned with our water and sewer. Looking at that, there are things that we can do to safely take care of the people of our town. We should never try to skimp on people's safety and health. We've seen that nationally, and it didn't do very well. So I think that what we can do is look at exactly what we need, and exactly what we can get away with waiting on. Mm-hmm. And not just wait to throw it away, but figure out in this 5-10-year plan where we can address that again. Mm-hmm. There's grants out there for our bridges. There's grants out there for our water structures. There's grants for our walkways. What we really need to do is start working within them. Most grants will make you pay only 20%, or so, in regards to a whole entire project. That's a huge amount of being able to save and still increase our viability of our infrastructure, to make it stronger, to make it more secure. I think that's our best bet. Is, again, we always have to be, it's not tomorrow, it's not 5 years, but really we need this comprehensive plan when it comes to our town as a whole. Mm-hmm. We've skimped for a very long time on certain things and spent money far too aggressively, and I think that we just need to stop doing that, and I think it can be done.
Annette?
And I agree with that, and as I stated before, I believe that we do have to sit down and decide what is critical, what can wait, and what really is just a want instead of a need. I think that this water sewer infrastructure problem is not just here in Seneca Falls. I believe every aging town is going through it. And like Mary said, there are grants out there, and possibly if we had a local grant writer, that person would maybe be more, more concerned about getting these grants done for us, because they understand all our infrastructure.
Now, speaking to your experience, obviously your opponents aren't here. They have not held office in the same way that you guys have after being appointed this year. What, in your experience in the last 7 months, have you guys learned, gained? What's been the big takeaway thus far? Annette, we can start with you this time.
Well, I will tell you, my biggest takeaway is that I would attend these town board meetings as, in the audience. Mm-hmm. And I would sit there and listen to what was going on, and I would say to myself, why aren't they making any decisions? Why aren't they talking about anything? And now now that I'm on that side and I'm behind that desk now, I understand what a very hard job it is to be a participant in trying to run a town, because there are so many different ideas that people have, and everybody wants to tell you how it should be done, and they want to give you their ideas on how you should vote or what you should bring up. And so it has been very eye-opening to me, the whole politics thing. I believe that if the board the board can really work together to make a positive change for Seneca Falls. But I believe that it's very important for the board to listen to the residents. And Supervisor Lazaro has started to do that by having town forums. And I believe that is a good way to do that, because we are only 5 people out of the thousands that are here. And to really make an educated, good decision for the town, we really need the people's input. So that's what I've taken away for it, that it is an incredibly hard job, and you have a lot to think about, and you can't just make snap decisions, even though you feel like you want to, and you feel pressured to do that sometimes, but you really can't, because you really have to look at the grand scope of what is going on and what the majority of the people want.
And Mary?
You got to show up. Sounds silly right now to say it, but it's very, very true. If you're not there for the people of your town to answer their questions, to listen to them, then you're doing a disservice to the town. You're under a microscope, and you're always going to be under a microscope. Everything you say when you're in front of that camera at that board meeting, everything that you do will be somewhat criticized and somewhat heralded in other ways. But you have to show up, and you have to stick to your convictions, but you also have to be willing to listen to others. I've said it a million times. We may not always see eye to eye, but we're working for the town. It's not an I, it's not a me. I said, my family's important, and I'm doing it for them, but I'm doing it for my family because it's a larger part of what we should all be considering a family, which is the town of Seneca Falls and the residents of Seneca Falls. If you don't show up, and you don't do your homework, and you don't listen to every single person, and answer the tough questions, because there are many tough questions that come at you, but if you don't do that, then you cannot serve your town to the best of what it should have from you as an elected official or as appointed official.
Now, obviously, we don't have your opponents here to ask them specifically, and you guys have not had a ton of interactions from my understanding. That said, how do the both of you feel like you differ the most from your opponent on the other side? Mary, we can start with you this time.
That's a good question. I think that, one, if you're going to even put your name in the hat to do this, that you're taking a big step, because it's not easy. It's not easy to be put and scrutinized or sit here for an interview. It's difficult. I think that I don't have that much of an interaction with Lou. I think that I come from a more of an out-of-the-box type of thinking. That thinking, I think, is very, very important. I don't know what his thought process is on moving Seneca Falls forward for the future, trying to get it more up to the 21st century. I'd like to see a lot with tech. I'd like to see our web page redesigned. I would love to be able to see people being able to pay bills online, being able to apply for permits online. I'm not sure if he feels the same way when it comes to tech and technology and moving ourselves forward for the future, in 30 years or 40 years, like I see myself.
Annette?
I have not met my opponent and know very little about him. So I really can't answer the question. I really can't, because I don't know what he stands for. I know we had to answer some questions from Dave Shaw, so maybe when those questions are in the paper, I will see what his point of view is. But I really don't know. I can't answer that question because I don't know.
Now, leading into our last question here before we get you guys out of here, the election is just 2 weeks away. Why should the people of Seneca Falls choose each of you as they cast their vote on November 8th? Annette, we can start with you.
Well, I feel I've been on the board for a portion of this year. I really am starting to get an understanding of it. I do want to be able to continue my journey and push for the revitalization of downtown. I would like to see more community events happening so that we can get our town's name out there and get it marketed. I would like to see new businesses come in. I just really have a big passion about seeing this town flourish. And my seat that I am running for is only one more year, and I am hoping that the voters come out and give me that 1 year opportunity to continue what I've been doing. I am very passionate about it. I love being on the board. It's a fun, eye-opening journey, and I'd like to continue it and just move Seneca Falls forward.
And Mary?
I feel the same way. I love Seneca Falls. I feel like I have been working more than I have ever worked, and I have my own business and a 5-year-old, and I feel like this passion is kind of, it's a part of me now, and it's only been a little over 7 months, but man, I would love to be able to really continue the work that I've started. I mean, I've been out there measuring windows for grants, calling people's banks for them so that we can get information in. And I think that's important. I am a go-getter. I will be the person that will be out there on the street. I will be calling for meetings so that we can get things accomplished a little bit earlier. And I think that I have some really great ideas. I'm up for the 3-year term. And I just think that, man, for so much that I've done already just in the 7 months, to be able to expand on that for 3 years just gives me such a great opportunity to be able to really, really strengthen Seneca Falls, both economically, environmentally, and technology-based as well. I think that, man, we have great things happening in Seneca Falls. We often look at the negative parts of Seneca Falls, but the positive stuff that's here in this town, it should not ever be diminished, because it is here and it is strong. And please give me that opportunity to be the champion and to help lead Seneca Falls into this. I would really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you guys taking the time to stop in and take part in this debate. It's obviously really important for everyone to understand the issues before they go to the polls.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Josh.
That's going to do it for our Seneca Falls Town Council debate special. We'd like to thank Mary and Annette for taking part and wish all the candidates the best of luck on November 8th. As a programming note, we will be hosting a second debate on this network as all 3 candidates for the 54th Senate District join us in studio on November 3rd at 8 p.m. Check out fingerlakes1.com for more information on that, including a link to the live stream where it can be viewed. Also on election night, don't forget to check us out as we go live at 8 p.m. covering results from every election happening in the Finger Lakes. We'll have live recap, analysis, and much more, so be sure to check that out on November 8th. For Mary Saratori and Annette Lutz, I'm Josh Durso, reminding everyone to join us again on November 3rd for our 54th Senate District debate. Good night.